continuing U.S. Drone strikes in the area of Pakistan as it continues to fight the spillover effects from the Afghanistan war. Could you are those continuing, and were you able to in your travels through the flood-ravaged area get any sense of the extent of how those attacks are continuing?
They are certainly continuing. I mean, even as the U.S., was promising aid, initially $150 million or so, at the same time, $150 million of aid for the flood, as a flood relief package. At the same time, there was. At the same time, there were still drone strikes continuing on August 14th, which is Pakistan's Independence Day, and when we were already in the middle of this crisis, the flood crisis. There were drone strikes in the northern parts of Pakistan. So it's a very schizophrenic policy, partially because if the concern of the United States is indeed terrorism and stopping terrorism, and there's all this discussion about disaffection and poverty as being causes of terrorism, certainly it would make more sense to put the money that is now going towards drone strikes towards flood relief. I mean, you now have 20 million people or so that have been affected by this crisis. This is a quarter of Pakistan is now underwater. So it's a very schizophrenic policy. The amount of money that the U.S. gives the Pakistan Army for its security efforts is about $150 million a month, which is which is pretty much close to what they have promised as sum total package at the moment for flood relief. So it's a strange policy, and there's a lot of anger about it as well. I mean, I saw U.S. aid camps, tents that had been given, and these were actually simply just kind of plastic sheets that people had taken and had bought their own sticks to prop up as tents, and they were falling in. I mean, some of the worst, shabbiest, tents around.
I'd like to also ask Calandar Maiman about this. It's been reported in the past few days about the diversion of waters from the floods to save a U.S. military base that was in the path of the flood waters. Could you talk about that?
Yes. I just want to continue with what Nadia was saying as well. I think the war is continuing on both sides. It's not just the U.S., but also the Pakistani military, and they really are partners. And a good example of this would be like what you just asked me about. The air base is called Shahbaz Air Base, and this is in Jacobabad district. The water could have been diverted, but the water was increasing in pressure and volume, and it could have been diverted in two directions. One was towards a city where, Jacobabad city, where 900,000 people would have been affected. On the other side, it could have been diverted, and far less people, less than 100,000 would have been affected, but an air base would certainly have been sacrificed. And the military, in the dead of night, breached the canal so that the water goes towards the 900,000 people as opposed to the air base. And it is said that the air base is in the control of the U.S. military, and that this is where the drones are flown from, and the Secretary of Health Secretary, in fact, in the Senate committee said that relief efforts cannot take place in Jacobabad because the U.S. government would not allow flights from Shahbaz Air Base to take off for relief work. And yesterday there was an airstrike by the Pakistani military, pardon me, in the northern areas, which killed around 40 people. Now, the headlines always say militants, but we do not know how many were militants and how many were innocent. So, and of course, there was also a 3 bomb blast in Lahore. So it seems that the war continues while 17 million people are homeless and suffering.
Well, I want to thank you both for being with us. We will continue to cover this story. Kalander Maiman is editor of the online journal Naked Punch and a member of the Labour Party of Pakistan. And Medea Tahir is a freelance journalist based in Karachi. We'll take a break for 60 seconds, and when we come back, domestic workers win a years-long campaign to establish a set of working standards. Stay with us. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report.